Ladies and gentlemen, let's stop pretending. Let's stop acting like we don't know what's happening every time we open those apps. Let's stop pretending we're just checking in, when the truth is, we're checking out. Here's the ugly truth about social media. It's not about connection anymore. It's about control. It's about controlling your time, your attention, your self-worth, and you're handing it over willingly, hundreds of times a day. You're not addicted to your phone. You're addicted to the feeling of escape it gives you. But every time you escape into that screen, you're walking out on your real life. We have to talk about this because it's affecting your confidence. It's eroding your focus, and it's making you feel like you're not enough, even when you're doing more than enough. Social media is not free. You're paying with your mind. You're paying with your mood. You're paying with the most valuable currency on the planet, your attention, and the worst part, you're comparing your real life, your messy, beautiful, raw, imperfect human life, to someone else's curated highlight reel. That's not fair, that's not honest, that's not healthy, and yet we keep doing it. Let me be clear, this is not a speech about quitting social media. I'm not here to tell you to delete your accounts and live in a cabin. I'm here to tell you to wake up, to use social media instead of being used by it. Because right now, if you're not intentional, it's programming your brain every time you scroll. You know that moment when you pick up your phone just to check something, and suddenly it's 20 minutes later, and you don't even remember what you were doing. That's not a coincidence. That's design. These platforms are built to keep you addicted. Every like, every comment, every video that autoplays, it's designed to trigger dopamine over and over until your brain starts craving more. And here's the thing, when your brain starts chasing external validation from a screen, it stops listening to internal direction from your gut. You lose the sense of who you are, what you value, and what you want, because you're too busy watching what everyone else is doing. You start thinking, maybe I need to look like that, maybe I need a life like that, maybe I'm behind, maybe I'm not enough. Let me tell you something, you are not behind, you are on your path. You are doing more than you give yourself credit for, and most of the people you're comparing yourself to, they're struggling too. They're just better at hiding it online. We have to take back our power, we have to take back our mornings, we have to take back our peace. So here's the challenge, start your day before you scroll. That means no social media until you've spent at least 10 minutes with yourself. Journaling, meditating, moving your body, reading something real. Anything that strengthens your mind before the world tries to hijack it. Set boundaries. That app doesn't need to be the first and last thing you see every day. Your brain doesn't need constant updates. It needs space to think, audit your feed. If it makes you feel anxious, jealous, insecure, or behind, unfollow it. You don't owe anyone your mental health, and most importantly, reconnect with reality. Your life, the one you live offline, is where your real power is. It's where your real relationships are. It's where your joy is, your work is, your progress is. Don't trade that for a filtered fantasy that isn't even real. I'm not telling you to go dark. I'm telling you to get deliberate. Use social media as a tool, not a trap. Post what matters, say what's real, stop performing, start living. You don't need more likes. You need more self-respect. You need more presence. You need more realness. And you already have all of that in you. You just have to stop scrolling long enough to see it. Social media is not just a distraction. It is a meticulously engineered system designed to manipulate your attention, your emotions, and ultimately, your behavior. Every time you open an app, you're not entering a neutral space. You're stepping into a psychological battlefield where your focus is the prize. These platforms have billion-dollar teams of engineers, behavioral scientists, and algorithms all working toward one thing, keeping you engaged for as long as possible. Why? Because your attention is the currency. The more time you spend scrolling, clicking, reacting, and watching, the more money these platforms make, and make no mistake, they are very, very good at it. Let's talk about how this works. The infinite scroll. That wasn't an accident, that's behavioral design. It's modeled after slot machines in Vegas. Every time you swipe down to refresh your feed, your brain gets a tiny jolt of anticipation. Maybe something new, maybe something exciting. And when it shows up, dopamine, just a hit, enough to keep you going, enough to make you crave more. You are being conditioned. Your brain is literally being rewired to seek that next notification, that next story, that next post. It's no different from addiction. You might think you're using social media to stay connected, to unwind, to kill time, but if you really pay attention, most of the time it's using you asterisk. It hijacks your day in little pieces, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And by the end of the day, you're wondering where your time went, why you feel scattered, why you didn't get things done. It's not because you're lazy or unmotivated. It's because your attention has been stolen. And the worst part, you willingly gave it away, without even realizing it, and don't think you're immune just because you only check it a few times. These platforms aren't counting the number of times you open them. They're counting how often you interrupt your focus to do so. Every time you switch from your work to check Instagram, every time you stop mid-task to reply to a comment, you are breaking your attention span. You are teaching your brain to expect interruption. You are training it to crave distraction. Over time, your ability to stay present, to focus deeply, to sit with your thoughts, diminishes, but it goes deeper. Because when social media manipulates your attention, it starts to manipulate how you feel asterisk. Think about how often you open an app in a neutral mood, and within minutes you're feeling irritated, anxious, envious, or somehow less than. That's not a coincidence. That's the emotional cost of algorithmic consumption. These platforms thrive on engagement, and the content that engages most, outrage, comparison, insecurity, they don't feed you what's good for you. They feed you what keeps you hooked. The more provocative, the more extreme, the more emotionally charged it is, the better it performs. And if you consume enough of it, your world, you shifts, you become reactive, you become cynical, you become disconnected from your own inner compass. So many people walk around today with fragmented attention, unstable moods, and low self-esteem, and they don't connect it back to what they're consuming. But your inputs determine your outputs. If you constantly feed your brain a diet of chaos, comparison, and distraction, that is what your inner world will reflect. You can't scroll through noise and expect clarity. You can't absorb fake perfection and expect to feel whole. Here's where this gets really serious. When you live in a state of low-grade distraction all day, you lose touch with your deeper sense of purpose. You stop thinking about your dreams. You stop taking consistent action. You lose track of what you want because you're too busy watching what everyone else is doing. The very things that make life rich, deep work, meaningful relationships, mindful presence, require attention. And if that attention is constantly being siphoned off, you're not really living your life. You're observing it from a distance, while being emotionally yanked in every direction by an algorithm. This is not about demonizing technology. This is about awareness. The manipulation only works when you're unaware that it's happening. The moment you start to really notice, how your attention is being pulled, you reclaim your power. You start to ask better questions. Is this content helping me grow? Is it making me feel better or worse about myself? Am I choosing to be here right now, or am I here out of habit? Once you ask those questions, you can create new rules. Maybe it's setting screen time limits. Maybe it's unfollowing accounts that trigger insecurity. Maybe it's reclaiming the first hour of your morning for yourself. Before you open any app, the point is you get to decide how your attention is used. You get to train your brain to work for you not the other way around. Because here's the truth, when you control your attention, you control your life. And that starts by recognizing that your attention is not free, it's valuable. It's powerful and it's yours. Don't give it away to platforms that profit off your distraction. Give it to what matters. Give it to what moves you forward. That's how you stop being manipulated. That's how you start taking back control. Every single time you scroll through social media, you are training your brain to expect constant stimulation and fragmented information. Whether you realize it or not, the repetition of this behavior is literally reshaping how your brain works. Your focus is shrinking, your tolerance for boredom is evaporating, your ability to sit still, think deeply, or finish a task without distraction is slowly eroding. And what's worse, you think this is normal. You think you just have a short attention span or that you're bad at focusing, but that's not who you are. It's what your habits have trained you to become. Let's talk about the science for a moment. The brain thrives on repetition. The more you repeat an action, the stronger the neural pathways connected to that behavior become. This is neuroplasticity. Your brain adapts to what you do repeatedly. So if you're checking your phone every few minutes, scrolling without intention, hopping between posts, comments, stories, and videos, your brain adapts to expect that kind of rapid, low-effort engagement. You're conditioning yourself to need constant input, constant novelty, constant noise, and as a result, anything that requires depth, like reading, working, thinking strategically, or even having a real conversation, feels heavy and dull. Think about how hard it is now to watch a full movie without reaching for your phone. How difficult it is to read even 5 pages of a book without needing a break. That's not because you don't care about those things. It's because your brain has been taught that slower, deeper engagement isn't rewarding. It's starving for that hit of dopamine, that hit you get from likes, mentions, and new content. You didn't get less disciplined. You got rewired. And here's what's truly dangerous about this. Once your brain is used to fragmented focus, you lose access to your most powerful mental states: flow, deep work, creative insight. You become reactive instead of proactive. You jump from thought to thought, task to task, without truly finishing anything. You're busy, but not productive, active, but not intentional. And over time, this creates stress. Because deep down, you know you're capable of more. You feel the gap between what you're doing and what you're truly capable of doing. That gap becomes guilt. That guilt becomes overwhelm. And eventually, it turns into burnout. Not from doing too much, but from doing too little of what actually matters. Now consider this. The average person taps their phone over 500 times a day. That's 500 tiny distractions, 500 interruptions to your train of thought, your present moment, your mental clarity. And each one of those taps is reinforcing a behavior loop. Open, scroll, exit, repeat. Most of the time, there's not even a conscious reason behind it. You're not bored, you're not curious, you're just programmed. And what does this mean for your goals, your growth, your personal power? It means you're constantly leaking energy into places that give you very little in return. Instead of building mental muscle, resilience, focus, clarity, you're reinforcing mental clutter. You're practicing distraction. You're strengthening the part of your brain that says, "This is too hard, let's check Instagram instead." Here's the real problem with that: the skills that matter most in life, discipline, focus, self-control, are not flashy. They don't come with rewards. They don't give you instant feedback. They grow in silence, in moments when you stay on task, stay in discomfort, stay committed. But if your brain is trained to chase only what feels good and fast and easy, you will never build those skills. You will always choose the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance does not lead to growth. It leads to stagnation. But let's be clear, this isn't a hopeless story. Your brain isn't broken. It's just trained, and anything that's been trained can be retrained. You can rebuild your focus. You can rewire your habits. You can reclaim your ability to think, to create, to be present, but it's going to take intention. It's going to take saying no to things that feel good in the moment, but rob you in the long run. It starts with awareness. Notice how often you reach for your phone when you're tired, bored, anxious, or avoiding something hard. Don't judge it. Just notice it. Then start creating space. Turn off notifications, delete the apps from your home screen, give your brain room to breathe, reintroduce boredom. Boredom is not the enemy. It's the birthplace of creativity. It's where your best ideas live, but you can't access them if you never give your brain silence. Practice depth, read a book, write in a journal, have a conversation without checking your phone, work on something without switching tabs. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, like withdrawal, but that's a sign your brain is detoxing. It's learning how to be still again, how to focus, how to function without constant input, and most importantly, protect your mornings. The first 30 minutes of your day set the tone for your brain. If the first thing you feed it is noise, comparison, and chaos, that's what it will crave all day long. But if you start with quiet, intention, and presence, your brain will follow that rhythm. You are not powerless in this. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are just distracted. And distraction is a habit you can unlearn. Reclaim your focus, and you reclaim your future. We've been sold the idea that what we see on social media can be inspirational. And yes, sometimes it is. Sometimes you come across a story that lights a fire inside you, a quote that shifts your mindset, or a person whose work ethic challenges you to show up better. But let's be honest, most of the time, that's not what's happening. Most of the time, what you're calling inspiration is actually comparison, and comparison doesn't build you. It breaks you down, one scroll at a time. Here's what happens. You pick up your phone, start scrolling, and within seconds, your brain is flooded with images and stories of other people's lives, their highlights, their best angles, their vacations, their businesses, their bodies, their relationships, and whether you mean to or not, your mind starts measuring. You start comparing, and suddenly, the workout you just finished doesn't feel good enough. The progress you've made feels too slow. The life you're living feels small. You're not inspired. You're discouraged. You're doubting yourself. And that internal voice starts whispering things like, "You're behind. You should be doing more. You'll never catch up." This is the corrosive effect of comparison. It doesn't push you. It paralyzes you. Because instead of focusing on your own goals, your own journey, your own path, you get caught up in someone else's version of success. And here's the truth no one tells you. You're comparing your entire life, your behind, the scene's messiness, your doubts, your struggles, your insecurities, to someone else's edited highlight reel . That's not fair. That's not even real. You're measuring your worth using a scale that doesn't even belong to you. Social media is full of illusions. People don't post their failures, their breakdowns, their rejections, or the nights they cried themselves to sleep wondering if they're good enough. You see the finished product, not the process. You see the photo, not the 37 takes it took to get it. You see the win, not the years of quiet, lonely, unrecognized effort. And yet, you let those curated glimpses dictate how you feel about yourself. That's a dangerous game to play, because here's what comparison steals from you: your peace, your confidence, your focus, your ability to appreciate where you are and how far you've come. Every time you compare yourself to someone else online, you rob yourself of the energy you need to build your life. You take your eyes off your own lane, your own vision, your own potential, and when you do that long enough, you start shrinking. You start hesitating. You stop showing up fully because some part of you believes it's not good enough to begin with. This is the lie, that someone else doing well means you're doing worse, that their success somehow subtracts from your own. That is not true. Their light does not dim yours. But comparison tricks your brain into scarcity mode. It tells you that there's not enough success, not enough time, not enough attention to go around. And when your brain operates from scarcity, it doesn't create. It competes . It doesn't take bold action, it hides. It questions everything. That's why you feel stuck sometimes. Not because you're not capable, but because you've been spending more time looking at what everyone else is doing than listening to what you want. You can't build your life while obsessing over someone else's blueprint. You weren't meant to. You're not supposed to have their journey. You're supposed to have yours, but you'll miss it entirely if you don't start looking inward. You need to get honest about what you're consuming and how it makes you feel. If your feed leaves you feeling drained, anxious, jealous, or ashamed, you don't need more motivation. You need a boundary. You need to curate your environment, protect your mental space, surround yourself with content that reminds you of what's possible, not what you're supposedly lacking. And this isn't just about who you follow. It's about the energy you bring to the scroll. Are you using social media as a tool or as a mirror to beat yourself up with? Are you searching for growth or for evidence that you're falling behind? One mindset leads to expansion, the other leads to paralysis. So here's your challenge. Stop calling it inspiration. If it's making you feel like crap, stop labeling comparison as motivation when it's actually self-sabotage. Take back your power. Remember that you are on your own timeline. There is no race. There is no rule book. There is no one right way to do this life. The only real competition is between who you were yesterday and who you want to become. Start giving yourself credit for the little wins. Start celebrating your progress. Start showing up for your life the way you would if nobody else was watching. Because the truth is, the most fulfilling work you'll ever do isn't for social media. It's for you. It happens in the moments no one sees, the early mornings, the messy middles, the brave decisions, the quiet efforts. That's where real confidence is built. Not from applause, but from alignment. You don't need to look at someone else to remember what you're capable of. You just need to remember who you are. Comparison may be easy, but confidence is earned. And it starts when you stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against your own potential. The truth is, social media is not just shaping how we see others. It's reshaping how we see ourselves. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you are internalizing the images, messages, and narratives you consume. And slowly, subtly, those things begin to influence your self-worth. They whisper lies that become beliefs. Lies like, you're not successful enough, you're not attractive enough, you're not as interesting, as talented, as popular, as disciplined, as whatever enough. Over time, those whispers become your internal monologue, and that monologue, it becomes your reality. What starts as a harmless scroll becomes an invisible thread that pulls you away from your truth. You begin performing instead of living. You post what you think people want to see. You share the polished moments and filter out the rest. You start editing your life, not just online, but offline too, so that it fits the narrative you think will get you the most validation. You stop saying what you really feel. You stop showing up as you really are. Why? Because you've been conditioned to seek approval over authenticity. It's easy to forget, but the things you see on your feed are not facts. They are filters, both literally and metaphorically. People are not posting their full stories. They're posting the best moments, the curated wins, the highlight reels. And even when someone appears real, you have no idea what's going on in the background. You don't know the fights behind that smiling couple's photo. You don't see the anxiety behind that motivational post. You don't witness the self-doubt behind that confident pose, but your brain doesn't process that. It sees the surface and takes it as truth, and then it turns that into a mirror to judge yourself by. This creates a toxic loop. You see something better than what you have, and instead of appreciating your own progress, you start shrinking. You question yourself, you criticize yourself, you start chasing things that might not even align with who you are just because they seem to be getting applause for someone else. It's a cycle of comparison, self-doubt, performance, and burnout, and it's exhausting. Worse, this performative culture erodes your connection with your own values. It blurs the line between who you are and who you think you should be. You start setting goals based on visibility instead of meaning. You start valuing how things look more than how they feel. You start obsessing over metrics, followers, likes, comments, rather than fulfillment, purpose, or joy. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, your life becomes less about being and more about appearing. And here's the most painful part. Deep down, you know it. You feel the dissonance between the person you show the world and the person you truly are. You feel the emptiness after the dopamine hit of a post that does well. You feel the anxiety when you're not getting the attention you're used to. You feel the pressure to stay relevant, to keep performing, to keep proving your worth. That's not confidence, that's a trap. So many people are living their lives for an audience that doesn't even care. You bend, stretch, and exhaust yourself trying to keep up a version of yourself that isn't even you. And what do you get in return? A few likes, a few compliments, maybe a little envy, but does any of that fill you up? Does any of it sustain you when you're alone, tired, or struggling? No, because true self-worth doesn't come from validation. It comes from alignment. You don't need more applause. You need more authenticity. You need to return to your voice, your goals, your values, and to do that, you need to unplug from the performance. You need to reclaim the parts of yourself that got buried under filters and likes. You need to stop looking outside for who you should be and start listening to the voice inside you that's been there all along. Start small. Pay attention to what you're posting and why. Ask yourself, am I sharing this because it's true and meaningful to me, or because I want approval? That question alone will tell you everything. Then begin to practice showing up more honestly, not just online, but in real life. Say what you mean, set boundaries, speak your truth even when it's uncomfortable. That is what builds real confidence. Not pretending, not performance, but presence. Make space in your day to reconnect with yourself outside the noise. Journal, meditate, go for a walk without your phone. Give yourself moments where you are not consuming, comparing, or performing, just being. That space is where your real identity lives. That's where your real worth is felt, not in what you post, but in who you are when no one is watching. And most importantly, remember, you don't owe the internet your polished life. You don't need to prove your worth to strangers online. You don't need to keep up appearances. What you need is to protect your peace, honor your truth, and choose authenticity over applause every single time. When you let go of the need to perform, you give yourself permission to grow. You stop living for the scroll and start living for your soul. And that shift, that's where the magic begins. That's where your real life starts. Not the one you post, but the one you live. There's this illusion that social media is a tool for connection, but the deeper truth is that more often than not, it's become a substitute for real connection. We're mistaking engagement for intimacy, comments for conversation, and followers for friends. But you know it, deep down, you feel it. You can be surrounded by likes, flooded with messages, and still feel completely alone. That's not connection. That's noise. We live in a world where people can broadcast their every move, every thought, every success in real time, and yet we're lonelier than ever. Why? Because connection isn't about visibility, it's about vulnerability. It's about depth. It's about the kind of interaction that doesn't live in your notifications tab. But the moment we started filtering our lives for public consumption, we started filtering our emotions, too. We stopped showing the truth and started showing what we thought would be accepted, admired, or shared. Think about how easy it is now to say, "I'm fine," or "all good" in a comment, a post, a story, while inside you're unraveling. You mask your pain because vulnerability online can feel like exposure, not connection. And when you start curating even your emotions, you create a barrier between you and the people who might actually understand. Instead of leaning into support, you isolate yourself behind a polished feed. And over time, the distance between your digital self and your real self grows wider and wider. Real connection requires presence. It needs time, attention, intention. None of those things are fostered in the endless scroll. You can't build meaningful relationships in 30-second story replies or heart reacts. You build them in the space between the posts, in conversations that go off screen, in moments where you put the phone down and actually look someone in the eye. But we've become so accustomed to reaching for our phones that reaching for people feels foreign. We text instead of talk, we react instead of respond, and we wonder why our relationships feel surface level, why our friendships don't feel as fulfilling as they used to. And what's worse, many of us don't even realize this disconnect is happening. Because social media gives us the illusion that we're involved, informed, connected. You see a friend post about a new job or a trip or a tough time, and you like it. You feel like you've participated in their life. But you haven't spoken to them. You haven't asked how they're doing beyond the post. You haven't truly connected. You've observed. That's not friendship. That's voyeurism dressed up as engagement. The cost of this illusion is massive. We're losing the ability to have hard conversations. We're losing the patience to sit with someone's pain without jumping to comment or fix. We're losing the practice of being present with someone else's humanity. And when that happens, loneliness isn't just a personal problem. It becomes a cultural one. This also impacts how we show up in relationships. When you're constantly bombarded with highlight reels of seemingly perfect couples, perfect families, perfect friendships, it skews your expectations. You start believing that connection should be effortless, that vulnerability should always look pretty, that disagreements mean you're not compatible, but real relationships are messy, they require work. Communication, conflict resolution, emotional honesty, none of those things get many likes, but they're the glue that holds people together. And when your view of connection is based on what performs well online, you start avoiding the real stuff. You ghost instead of confronting, you withhold instead of expressing, you perform instead of participating. That erodes not only your relationships, but your capacity for emotional intimacy, because if you never practice it, you lose the ability to do it. So how do you reclaim real connection in a world that's trained you to substitute it with screens? You unplug, not entirely, but intentionally. You commit to being where your feet are. You start asking yourself, who am I showing up for today? Offline. You call instead of texting. You meet face to face when you can. You give someone your full attention. No scrolling, no distractions, just presence. You also start having deeper conversations. Ask better questions. Not what have you been up to, but how have you really been feeling lately? Not did you see that post, but what's been on your heart lately? This takes effort. Vulnerability always does, but it's worth it, because those are the moments that stick. That's where trust lives. That's where belonging grows. You also have to start being more honest with yourself. Ask, are you using social media to enhance connection or to avoid it? Are you posting because you want to share or because you want to be seen? Are you engaging with others out of genuine care or out of habit? These questions aren't to judge, they're to wake you up. Because if you don't ask them, the autopilot will keep running, and the autopilot doesn't build relationships, it builds loneliness. And here's something that might surprise you. Real connection often begins in silence, in the quiet moments where you're not performing, not broadcasting, just being asterisk. That's where you remember who you are. That's where you recharge enough to show up for others. With presence and love, you can't give connection if you're constantly drained. You can't offer presence if you're never still. Social media doesn't have to be the enemy of connection, but it can't be the substitute for it. You have to do the work of building your life beyond the scroll, of having the hard talks, of showing up even when it's inconvenient or messy. That's what gives your relationships weight. That's what gives your life meaning. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to remember how many likes your post got. They're going to remember how you made them feel. Whether you were there when it counted, whether you listened, whether you cared. That's the kind of connection that doesn't fade with an algorithm. That's the kind that matters.